Africa Prime, brought to you by Jameson's Select Reserve.
Welcome back to Africa Prime. Here on this show, we unravel the talent, we find the big ideas, and of course, we identify the next generation of leaders that can help move Africa forward. The man we have tonight is Steve Forbes. He's President and Chief Executive Officer of Forbes, and he's also Editor-in-Chief of Forbes magazine. Now, Steve was born on July 18, 1947 in Morristown, New Jersey. He graduated cum laude in 1966 from Brooks School in North Andover, Massachusetts. He received a BA in History from Princeton in 1970. Tonight, we're talking about Forbes, the business, coming into Africa. Now, you've been all over the world: Bulgaria, China, Croatia, India, Indonesia, Israel, Korea, Latvia, Middle East, Poland, Romania, Russia, Slovakia, Turkey, and others. And I'm reading all those, and I'm finding names that I'm thinking, hey, they are too small. What took you so long to come to Africa?
The key thing when you go into a local partnership is to find the right partner.
Sure.
In business, it's almost like a marriage. You want to make sure you get it right. So we took our time, and when we find a good partner, we will hitch up. But we want to make sure we have the right one, because if it does not work out, it gets to be very, very messy.
Sure. Now, when people talk about Africa these days, of course, they talk about the potential of the continent. They talk about a continent that has the youngest population in the world. They talk about a continent that's probably going to have a consumer market as big as India, as big as China. Was that part of the attraction?
Well, the opportunities here are enormous. One of the reasons why I came here on this trip was not only because of our new magazine here, but IBM is doing a conference here. They see this as a very vibrant local market. Sure. And a continental market. Sure. And you're starting to see some countries, what we say in the U.S., get their act together economically, open it up, such as Rwanda, opening up for foreign direct investment, and try to realize this potential. Countries such as Brazil, for example, long had great potential, sure, but didn't get it right because they didn't get the currency right, didn't get the internal economics right, so they're always waiting for the big win. Now they seem to be getting it together. Countries on this continent are starting to get it together. So we hope we're going to be able to move forward. Okay,
so now we had the first edition of Forbes Africa, the first ever Forbes title on the continent of Africa that was launched last month. What are your plans around there? What sort of stories are we likely to see coming out of that magazine?
There'll be some content from Forbes North America, but most of it will be geared for Africa, right, from here and other parts of Africa. And the focus is going to be on entrepreneurs, people who are running businesses, people who are starting businesses, people who are making things happen. And the sense will be similar to a drama critic, pointing out who's doing well, who's not doing well. Yeah. But we think that there's an entrepreneurial class rising up, and we want to be here to cover it.
Yeah. How strong is that class? I actually had a conversation earlier with one of Africa's intellectual leaders, Rul Koza, and we're talking about the ground for developing African business as well as political leadership. And we're talking about whether enough is being done to nurture that class that's coming up in terms of leadership. On the business front, is it there?
The talent is there. The desire and the energy is there. Yeah. The key thing is, do you have an environment where that talent can flourish? Because one thing about entrepreneurship, it involves a lot of failure. Sure. Steve Jobs had many failures as well as huge successes. Sure. So you want an environment where if something does not go right, you have a chance to pick yourself up and go on and do another thing. Yeah. You have to have the right tax environment, the rule of law, regulations that don't get in the way of a vibrant, flexible business. So if you have that right environment and work to nurture it, there's no reason why this continent can't have the growth rates exceeding those of India and China.
Yeah, well, if you look at the figures that are coming out of the IMF as well as the World Bank, they do show that 7 of the fastest 10 growing economies in the world are inside Africa. Now, when you tie that to your plans for Forbes magazine, what kind of growth rates are you looking at here?
Well, we hope vibrant growth rates, and
What's vibrant?
Vibrant, it can be 5% plus. I mean, here in South Africa, you're going to do less than that this year. Sure. That's a huge disappointment. And again, it gets to the importance of government leaders. What are the barriers to entrepreneurs rising up? And countries that have started to remove those barriers, when India started to remove their huge suffocating license regime 20 years ago, they suddenly overnight became a high-tech force in the world. And you see that energy here, so get this like a plant, the right environment, the plant blossoms.
Absolutely. We certainly hope that plant keeps growing. Let's talk about, so we've got Forbes Africa, the first title that has come, and I have lots of chats with the managing editor, Chris Bishop, when we try and talk about stories and those kind of things, the kind of stories that we'll be putting in there. But beyond Forbes Africa, what other titles are you looking at to bring to the continent?
We'll see what opportunities rise up.
Sure.
Obviously, a country like Nigeria should be prime. But again, you have to have the right partners. And other parts of Africa, I mentioned countries like Rwanda and others. They're small, but they are experiencing some very good growth rates, attracting, creating capital. So we hope there'll be more to come.
You're looking at Nigeria, any other parts of Africa that potentially that get you excited when you think about Africa?
Wherever there's growth gets me excited.
And I can assure you, you're going to get excited because there are many parts of Africa. Yeah, those 7% growth rates. I mean, when you talk countries like Angola, you talk countries like Kenya, you talk countries like Zambia, you're talking those growth rates in excess of 7%. But let's talk about the media. You're one of us, after all. You're a journalist. You're still editor-in-chief of Forbes magazine. When you look at the African media environment, are you concerned or are you excited?
Both.
Both.
You always have the challenge. Will there be an environment where free media can flourish? And wherever you go in the world, it's not just a particular Africa, you end up stepping on toes or doing things that get somebody, their feathers ruffled. And so it's just one of the things you have to learn to cope with.
Absolutely.
But I think with the growth of an entrepreneurial class, the growth of a middle class, those barriers will recede in the future.
Indeed. Now, when people talk about Forbes, they talk of the lists. How did they come about?
It started with, well, we've been doing lists of companies for years, but in terms of individuals, it started almost 30 years ago when my father had the idea of doing the 400 richest Americans.
Were you part of it?
Yes. And but he drove it through. The editors thought it was a crazy idea, but what it shows is also it's a snapshot of an economy, and what's amazing is how liquid and mobile it is. Just because you're on one year does not mean you're going to be on it the next year. This is a very dynamic economy we have around the world. And
for Forbes Africa, what kind of list can we expect going forward?
Well, you can expect lists of the richest. You can expect lists of women who are moving up.
That was in the first edition.
First issue.
Yes.
And lists of entertainers and others. So yes, there's some exciting rankings to come.
We're certainly looking forward to them, and I'm certainly looking forward to hopefully.
Perhaps you'll be on the list.
I certainly will not be on the list, but I'm hoping for a political list, one that ranks the politician in their performance.
I'll leave that to the voters. But we will be looking at policies, economic policies that are constructive or destructive.
For business?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Talking of politics, you ran in 1996. You ran again in 2000. Will you run again?
The answer is no. I'm an agitator in U.S. politics.
You'll not run again?
But I'm not running, no.
Okay. So who are you punting? Who do you think has the policies that are closest to you?
I'm looking over the field now, looking at people like Governor Perry and others, and see who has the most pro-growth policies. And whoever does, I will be backing soon. The governor of my home state, I come from New Jersey in the U.S.,
sure.
Chris Christie, was under a lot of pressure to run, but he chose not to run. So I'm going to have to make a decision soon.
Right. Now, let's go back to the magazine. One of the stats that I picked up when I was researching on you was that your magazine, in fact, sells more ads than any other, that's ad pages, than any other magazine in the world. Does that still stand? And how do you do it?
Selling. Marketing. You have to ask for the order. Not bring.
Indeed.
Do I have your subscription yet? That's what I want to know.
No. That subscription is already there because we have it. If you go in our executive area, you're going to find it.
But no, but we do reach the kind of audience that marketers wish to reach. And we can segment that audience. We're also very big online. We have over 20, our Forbes.com website has over 23 million unique visitors a month. We are redoing the way journalism is done. We have over 800 contributors online. So it's a very exciting time. And while print overall has taken a real hit in the United States in terms of media, we feel that it still has a place if you combine it with the electronic world,
right,
and realize that as long as your mission, your goal remains the same, the tools may change, but they're simply means to an end.
And when you walk into the newsroom, I mean, you're 64 now, do you still get excited about getting onto that next big story?
Especially when the arrows are up, not down.
Which arrows? We're talking about market arrows here.
Yes.
When the Dow Jones in the futures are indicating it's going to go up or down. But seriously, when are you hanging up your boots?
When they take them away from me.
When will that be? We can't tell.
I hope not soon.
But from where you are now, so where do you take Forbes magazine? I mean, you have achieved so much.
Well, in this new world that we're going into, where
yeah,
the web has turned everything upside
yeah,
down,
yeah,
there's a lot of work that has to be done.
Right.
And I think there are new opportunities in terms of business education that we can pursue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're just getting warmed up.
What kind of opportunities, though?
In business education,
right,
courses and things like that.
Yeah.
And in terms of our website, we've made enormous changes there. The magazine is different than it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Very streamlined. And so, yes, in this new era, you change with the times and circumstances. Keep the same goal, but realize you just can't have the old playbook.
For sure. I've got a final question, and it's around the famous or infamous lists. Where do you stand on the list?
Sadly, that's why I have to keep working. I'm still not on it, so I'll work until someday I get on it.
What number is that?
Well, in the U.S. it's 400. Globally, it's over 1,000. I haven't made that list yet. So,
when do you think you're going to make it?
I don't know. That's what my kids keep asking.
Steve Forbes, thanks very much indeed for joining us here for this edition of Africa Prime, and we certainly hope that your endeavors here in Africa will be fruitful, and your drive to grow entrepreneurship across the African continent will bring us the results that we crave.
Well, the opportunity is here, and the fact that companies like IBM and other companies see opportunity here, I think, is a sign that there's a lot of entrepreneurial energy waiting to be released.
Absolutely. The future is with Africa. That's it for this edition of Africa Prime. Please join us again next week as we take another in-depth look at pertinent issues and opportunities on the African continent. Until then, I'm Godfrey Mutizwa. Goodbye.